Let's rock. Sup, everybody.
Hello,
It's
we are
me,
here.
Aaron, and Drew of the
We
Paper
are
Dungeon,
the Paper Dungeon.
and
That's right.
this is Table Scraps. We have plugs that we do. But first of all, what is Table Scraps? Table Scraps is a show that we have normally on Thursdays, where we talk about the show that we run on Mondays, where we play Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition. It's been going for like, what,
Typically.
3 years now? Something like that?
Uh,
3 years?
so I believe. Let's see. So today's we're at the end of July. So I think by now, we would have had our first solo shot with Havel way back in the day, three
Way
years
back
ago.
in the day. Wow, that is a long time. So yeah, we've been going on book one for quite a while. Obviously, this is not a Thursday. This is a Friday. I
Yes,
had a migraine yesterday, and so I was very tired. Drew, could you speak for me?
I can speak
Sick. I
for
just
you.
realized that I hadn't actually checked whether or not the desktop audio was coming through right.
Oh, whether or not is yeah.
Yeah. um, but yeah, I've been getting. I think it's a combination of the heat, um, stress, and physical activity. But like after work on a couple of the days in the past, man, I get hit hard. Like, whew, it like it like beats me down.
Yeah, dude.
Um, so I got off of work yesterday, and I was like, all right, time to do table scraps, and it was like someone was stabbing me in the eye. It was not good.
That's rough.
Um,
Yeah.
but I've
I
used
don't
too many. So
Yeah, I have not experienced a migraine before. I'm apparently one of the lucky few.
well, this is I don't
Um,
even know if it's just if it's I've been calling them migraines, but like I've had them for a long time. I was just called them stress headaches because it's normally when I'm too dehydrated.
mm-hmm.
Um, but like these ones felt a little bit different, and a couple of people have been like, "Oh, that sounds like a migraine," and I've been like, "Nah, nah."
Nah.
And then I'm like, I might as well just call them a migraine because then people take me more serious than if I say that I have a painful headache.
Right.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
you say you have a headache, and they're like, "Meh, walk it off." And you say you have a migraine, they're like, "Do you need to lay down? Are you okay?"
I think maybe see I kind of understand that because like when I get sick, I'm one of those people where I'm either like 100% fine or I'm like bedridden
Dying,
sick.
like just murdered.
And that is one of the things that like I know that I'm getting really sick when like my head starts to like really hurt
Mm-hmm.
and like because like the difference is like if I'm sitting down or laying down especially like I'm totally fine, but as soon as I sit up like
Oh
or
yeah.
like start moving around like it literally feels like I'm gonna just like my head's gonna explode. It's crazy.
Um, yeah, no, it's the same for me. It's the same as like, I don't technically have asthma, like diagnosed asthma. I
Oh,
have reactive airway. But if you say that you have reactive airway, they look at you like you're just a complete idiot, and they're like, "What? So you're just like out of shape?" So I just tell them that I have asthma, right? Like they're like, "Oh, do you have any medical problems?" I'm like, hey, "It's asthma," and they're like, Why did you sound like that when you said it?" I'm like, "Well, technically, it's called reactive airway," and they're like, "Oh." I'm like, "But it's just asthma.
it's just yeah.
It's
Yeah.
asthma that has a triggering condition, so I could
So
see it coming."
so Aaron, I'm gonna share a secret with you because I know DJ doesn't watch this and he'll still be surprised on
Oh, I'm
Monday.
very interested.
But speaking of like saying something that really like it's really not the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but technically is. So more recently, I had an eye appointment.
Oh.
Uh, my just a yearly checkup kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, like when I finished with all the testing and whatnot, the doctor was like, okay. So he's like, I want you to just to pay attention to this. So these are your eyes just normally, just with nothing, and these are your eyes with these kind of lenses. I'm like, oh, that actually is there's a noticeable difference there. That's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like so this see this is the part and this is the part that I find funny. So he's like, yeah, so you have 20/20 vision. However, we can get you glasses for the stigmatism that you have in your eyes. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, well, sure, let's look. Sure, I'll try that out. And so I now officially have a pair of glasses, and so I can say that I have glasses that I use like everyone else. However, I technically do not need them at all.
Sounds nice. I have not been to an ophthalmologist for far too long, and I guarantee you my prescriptions are incorrect.
I mean,
I'll be
can you still see?
I'll be like driving on the highway, and I'll see a sign in the distance, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I have no idea what that sign says. I should probably not be driving.
You should probably get your prescription updated,
Yeah,
buddy.
probably. Um,
But yeah, it does feel weird to say because it's just like as I told my mom, it feels like I'm cheating
mhm.
because I have perfect vision and now I am with my glasses I can have technically even more perfect vision.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, you're like some. Wow, we are super off track. We've got to get back to it after this. Uh, my mom, wonderful lady. Uh, she had glasses when she was younger, huge thick lenses. She got her eyes fixed. She
Oh, sure.
like surgery or whatever.
Yeah, like the laser eye
Yeah,
surgery or whatever.
a laser optic or whatever. Um, and when she was done, she had better than 20/20 vision.
Wow. Yeah.
And then they reverted, and now she's back to where she was before the surgery.
Oh, and
So she's been like all
that's
over the
unfortunate.
spectrum of like, oh, I'm completely normal. Oh, my eyes have worsened. Oh, my eyes are incredible, and now they're back to being bad. So there had to be a moment in time where like her vision had decreased to the point where it was just 20/20.
Uh-huh.
So which must have been so weird because it's like, well, yeah, it got worse, but it's actually normal now.
Yeah, it's actually like still yeah,
Yeah,
perfect
it
vision.
must be like someone who's incredibly good at running who
Hmm.
like gets old, and now it's like, oh, I'm so much slower than I was, but they're still like the same
Still
speed, if not faster
le
than most
yeah,
people.
the most people exactly.
Like it's like, ugh, what a bummer.
It's yeah, when and somebody in their 50s or 60s who used to be a marathon runner,
Mm-hmm.
is running and is still
I'm like,
outpacing,
ugh, I can only
people's in
run
their 20s or
5
30s.
miles now in like 20 minutes. Um. Anyway, I don't
Anyway,
really want to go through
stream.
plugs, so I'm gonna really just put some half effort into this. Um. We have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We have a Discord. You should be in it. We have YouTube and podcast. Shout out to the podcast listeners. Y'all are going strong.
Yeah, dude.
We're proud of you.
100%.
They'll never
Troopers.
hear this, but I'm proud of you specifically. You know who you are. I'm pointing at you, and if you're a podcast listener, you wouldn't be able to see it. Um, we also have a website and a merch store. Those are the things that matter. Yeah, I don't think we have a podcast command. Kind of
We
bleed on
don't
that
have
one.
a podcast
What
command?
What are they going to do? See it?
I mean, no, the podcasters aren't going to see it. No, 100%. No. It's the Twitch people that need to apparently join the podcast.
Yeah. That's true. Uh, anyway, this past Monday, unfortunately, Grant and DJ were gone. Right, that's what it was.
Yeah, Grant and DJ.
Oh,
Yeah, what
yeah.
was
and
Grant?
so it
What
was
was Grant doing again? I
Grant's
don't
on a
remember.
business trip. I think he'll be back tomorrow.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
that's
so
right. Business
he was
trip.
on a big fancy learning business trip with his fancy new company, doing
Uh,
all kind of non-profit fancy learning things.
yeah.
Um,
And then DJ,
had to go climb a mountain or something.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't
so
remember exactly
it
what
was
it was.
a pre-recorded episode. I'm remembering it all now. For a second, I was like, was it just me and Drew and we did it live? No, that doesn't make any sense.
No, that was
Um,
that's what we thought we would have
yeah.
to do.
And DJ was kind enough to DM for us, and it was maybe the most wholesome thing we've ever done. There was
Oh,
zero
it's up there.
negativity. Nothing died, and no one was in danger. There wasn't even the threat. Well, there was like the most minor threat of danger.
I mean, yeah, there was a minor threat of danger,
They're
but
like,
not like a
"Ooh, it's
big threat of
bear,
danger.
but it's a friendly bear." It felt like a kids show, but better. Um, it was an absolute blast. It was like what, 2 hours? A little under that.
It was like hour and a half ish.
Hour and a half, yeah. And Drew and I played wholesome young people.
Yes.
You felt much more like a child than I did, which
Well,
is great because I don't enjoy playing children.
so the funny thing about that, right, is like at the time we'd like before we went live, we'd said, oh, like they're like 12-ish years old, somewhere around there, right, or an equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron's character was a little bit older than that, and But then after we started playing, and even after when we were streaming it, and I was there for the stream or whatever and watching it, I'm just like,
What
it's
if hear me out though?
it's more like it really is. It really felt like more like Ultrez was like 8 at most.
Yeah, I was like 8 feels like a very strong age for Ultrez. But like I'm gonna just say that it was probably that you were 11, but like with ADD.
Sure,
Like you
sure,
were just like just super all over the place.
yeah, 100%.
And then
Well, I think it's just really because like in my it's weird to say it now because we're not that old, right? Like
yeah.
we're in our early 20s, right? However, I've forgotten the difference between like a
Mm-hmm.
child
Oh yeah.
up to preteen, you
Well,
know?
Drew, welcome to my life. This is how I have viewed like ages since I was like junior high. You have child, and then they hit 10, and then they're like 20, and there is no in between. The correction, it's like 10, and then they're 15.
Yeah,
Then they
sure.
hit 20. There's
Uh-huh.
no. They just jump. They're all the exact same up until that point.
Right.
I don't know
It's
what else
yeah,
to say.
yeah.
And it is hard to, like it is hard to pinpoint the difference between 12 and 16 and 12 and 8. Like the ages of 11 to 15 don't have a stereotype,
Right.
which is makes them very difficult to play in my opinion. Where it's like you have like children that are like babies to 10.
Uh-huh.
What are 11 to 15? They don't exist, dude. They're not real.
Unless they're in anime. That's the
Even
only
then,
place they exist.
even then, if they are, they're not 12, dude. They're like 30. Have
That
you
is true.
seen an anime like 13-year-old? They walk up, they're like, hello. This
That
is who
is
I
actually
am.
that maybe
Oh.
does maybe continue to throw me
like,
off. Consider
they're
fact,
like tall and lanky or jacked, and they're like
yeah,
not
yeah, because
15.
you look at, for instance, good old a small anime that not a
No
whole lot
one's
of
ever
people
heard of.
know, like Demon Slayer, for instance,
Bro, the dude's like 19.
at least.
There's no possible way. Or like and like if you look at the rest of the people, like the Hashiras, they aren't like 25. They're like 19. They look like they're 30.
Right, yeah.
Anime is the
The
exact same.
The oldest Hashira, the Stone Hashira, is 25. Everyone
25.
else
My
is
man's like 40.
everyone else is like around 20 to 21 years
Yeah,
old,
no.
give or take.
That's
And
like
it's just
saying that like Netflix high schoolers are actually teenagers.
uh-huh.
No, they're like 30-year-olds who are like, hey, fellow kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're like Steve Buscemi. Like, that's not a chance.
Oh, my
And
fellow
that's
youngster.
so that's where we ended up. We had you who hit the like actual child to like 10, the like below 10-year-old demographic, and then
Yep.
mine who was like, yes, I am 12, but was secretly actually like 28.
Right. 100%.
Like there was zero in between, which kind of makes sense because I was playing a Triton named Cud,
Yes.
and Tritons are full adults by the time they're 15.
Uh-huh.
So like, it makes sense. You were playing a human.
How long do Tritons live for?
I don't know, 80 years maybe.
Something like that?
Yeah, I feel like they should live. I want D&D, like Wizards of the Coast, to have more really short-lived races. Like the only one that I can think of is Thrycreen. And
I mean,
they,
Thrycreen are let's see.
and I think that they even changed it so that they live
okay.
longer.
Now here's my question. What do you mean by short-lived? Like what constitutes
I don't
short-lived?
want them to live past 20.
Past 20.
Like Thrycreen originally lived like 10 years, dude. Because they didn't sleep.
That makes sense.
That was the in-canon like lore. Is that Thrycreen don't sleep, so they don't live very long.
What?
That's real.
That feels a little silly, but
yeah,
okay.
Thrycreen. They were like Thrycreen don't have to sleep. They can stay with. They take long rests, but they're fully conscious and can move around and stuff like that. Like they can't do combat, but they can like do minor work and keep watch and stuff. But because they never sleep, They will not live past 15.
I mean, so I'm fine with the Thri-kreen having short lives because typically bugs have
Yeah.
shorter lifespans. I don't think it's because they don't sleep.
Well, I mean, you know. Well, could you imagine how long a human would live if it didn't sleep?
Not very long at
Like a
all.
week and a half.
Uh, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, with rules of exhaustion, you only have 6 exhaustion
Absolutely.
points till you drop dead. So, and depending on
Absolutely.
who your DM is, that could be 6 days.
And so you better have a high constitution modifier, or else you are in trouble.
Yeah, dude.
Um, but yeah, I want more. I want more playable characters that are like, "Sup, I'm Dave. I've been alive for 9 years. I have 8 left. I'm middle aged right now. I'm 9 years old. Come at me." Like that's what I want. So that way, when you come across a ghost, it suddenly becomes the scariest thing in the world. Because like, sup, I'm Dave. I've got 8 years left to live. And then the ghost looks at you, and you're like, and the DM's like, all right, roll a d10. And you're like, all right, 9. And you're like, all right, you aged 9 years and die. This is what I want. Because you know how many times you'll be playing, like, you'll be DMing, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna hit him with this ghost, and it's gonna be rad. Like, I'm just like 7 ghosts are gonna pop in, and like they're all gonna use the thing that ages people. And you're playing with a party that's just elves,
Right.
and they show up.
It's
They're
just
like, "Sup? I'm Cathithrio. I'm 30, and I'm not even. I'm basically still a child." And the ghost shows up, like 9 of them, and you roll a 10. You're like, "All right, you age 90 years." And they're like, "Sup? I'm Cathithrio. I'm 120. That means I'm a young adult." And you're like, "I hate elves." Like, give me more short-lived people. You age like a human 90 years, and they're still like, I mean, I guess I'm 110.
I mean, they're probably gonna die very shortly after
Well,
that at
yeah,
that point.
I mean, not if they're like a monk or like
Not if
a
they're
oath of
not if they're
like
monk.
a oath of nature or whatever.
Yes, oath or oath of nature.
Yeah,
Although I think oath of nature specifically cannot be magically aged.
that's fair. Which is dumb. I
And
think
then
that
you
here's another.
and also if you're a high level druid, you
Yeah,
live
no
for
one
like
cares.
one year is like 1,000 or something
It's
like
the
that.
worst. Here's what I think. This is something that I've complained about for a long time, and I'm going to complain about it again. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't lean into like real world problems enough.
Oh.
Like, there are not enough like things that like would affect literally anyone that affect adventurers, like disease.
Yeah.
It's like, sup, this is the Black Plague. This is the bubonic plague. It killed 90% of Europe. One paladin stops it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense. Diseases should be scary.
Well, so I agree with you, Aaron. I do think there could be a little bit more
A little
realism
bit of
put in
give.
a little bit more realism put into D&D and role playing games in general. However, that's what first edition was, and then everyone complained.
No, no, no. Everyone loved it, and then they made second edition, and then everyone complained. But
Because because if you think about it too, there's also the part of it too is like the idea that you're playing this fantasy game to escape reality, and you want to be this powerful superhero adventurer person who doesn't
well,
have to deal with
here's the
those
thing:
those real world
you
things.
can you can still have that.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. You
What?
still
So
can.
this is what it should be, right? You should have a paladin that there's like a specific paladin, like the healer genre paladin that can
Okay.
cure diseases
Okay.
and that is immune to diseases themselves.
Okay.
Or take away the ability to cure diseases and just have the paladin themselves be immune to disease.
Okay.
That's still chill, because then as a paladin, you walk into a quarantine zone and you're like, well, guess I gotta watch my friends all die around me.
Hmm.
Because it's like, you're immune, but your friends aren't. And it's not like you can just poke them and be like, hey, you're fine. I can do this 12 times a day. 2 of me could stop the spread of any disease. Dumb. Age. Another thing that should be brought in more. There's like one creature that ages people. It's like ghosts. And 90% of the characters aren't going to be phased by it. dog, there should be spells that age people. Could you imagine some wizard that's just like, wiggity giggity, now you're 90, and then it's like, ugh! Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
Actually, I wonder if there is one.
I feel like there's like one, and it's bad. It's like not good. But like,
Yeah,
like
give
let
me
me
a
have
few
my
years
let me
and I
have
can.
my grit. Let me have my like concerning situation that is like concerning no matter who you are, right? This is what I'm asking for, man.
So, okay. Uh,
Like I
so time ravage.
yeah, that's one of the one. It has like a chance to do it or something.
So it's a ninth level spell. You target a creature you can see within range, putting its physical form through the devastation of rapid aging. The target must make a Constitution saving throw, taking 10d12 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. If they fail to save, the target also ages to the point where they have 30 days left before they die of old age.
And
In this age state, the target has disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws, and its walking speed is halved. Only a wish spell or greater restoration cast at ninth level can end these effects and restore the target to its previous age.
and you know who's casting that? Never a player. It's a DM all the time. It's always it's a DM spell, and I hate when they make DM spells. Like as you as a player, you're gonna go up to the final boss and be like, "Wazam! Now you have 30 days left to live," and then leave.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's never gonna happen.
Because, yeah, it's
At
very
best,
true.
you're going to try to terrorize some random townfolk and just kill them out the gate because it does too much damage. You can, get rid of the damage on it. Get rid of the damage one day. That's worth it. I would cast that spell as a player. No damage. If they fail to save, you have one day left to live. Try to kill me. Also, if you kill the caster, it should revert it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You as an old man, some boss is like, sup, you now have one day left to live. And then it's like, but if you kill me, but you're gonna have to try really hard because you have disadvantage on everything you do.
It's a concentration spell that lasts 24 hours.
It's the ultimate save or suck. Like if you succeed, it's like, oh well, that didn't do anything. But if you fail, it's like this is the worst I have ever experienced. I'm even more okay if as a DM, like there is an interesting situation where like you cast this on a player and then teleport the boss away. And so now the campaign has become kill the boss in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Or else your character dies. That is interesting. I could almost run a whole campaign about that. Where like all of your characters have been hit by this 9th level spell. And
right.
So you're like geriatric old people. And you have 30 days to defeat the person who casts a spell on you. That would be fun. That's hilarious.
That's a fun like miniseries right there.
Absolutely, that's awesome. It's just a bunch of old people like they have they have like tennis balls on the end of their swords. That's a campaign I'd run for sure. That being said, I would run just an old person campaign at any point in time without any prodding.
Even though you hate old people?
Oh, here's the thing. I'm not a fan of old people. But I love putting old people in like RPGs. Here's a trick, Drew, and I'm pretty sure I've said it before. If you're playing in a game DM'd by me, 2 things you should never trust: children and old people.
That's right.
That's a universal rule, and you can apply it to your own games as well. Any person you play with, if you're an adventurer who's a strapping young lad in their like early 20s, and you come across an old guy, there's no way that they aren't important. They're either going to be secretly jacked, like, yes, when I was a younger man, I was Thurnfor, the barbarian, ravager of the northern lands, and then they're going to cut you in half. Or they're like wizards, dude. There's no in between. Same
Yeah.
thing with young people. Young people are always serial killers.
Oh.
Because they're gonna look at you and they're gonna be like, "Oh, look at me! I'm cute and adorable. I'm like 8," and then they're going to stab you in the neck and kill like 18 people. That's always what it is. There's no in between. Or they're in disguise. They're secretly an old person disguised as a
Disguised
child
as young as a
to gauge whether or
like
not you were
like what
important
Abinthy
enough.
does.
Absolutely. They're gonna be like, "Oh, look at me! I'm poor and homeless," and you're gonna be like, "Ah, get out of my way, kid!" And they're like, "All right, you're dead." Powered kill. That's where it is. I'm actually 90. You should have known.
You should have known. Respect your
handed
elders.
out a gold coin to the poor person. I've judged you now. Magic.
Magic.
Anyway, this past episode was adorable.
It was.
I played Cud, a Triton who liked fishing and sleeping, and you played a name
Ultrez.
Ultrez. God, you and your names, dude.
What?
This is exactly.
That's a perfectly like. What's wrong with that name?
It is like in the top 10 fantasy names that we have had on this show.
Okay, what's wrong with playing having a fantasy name in a fantasy world?
There is nothing wrong.
And with fantasy characters.
It is exactly what I expected you to do. Honestly, I was hoping that it would have at least 4 syllables. I was hoping that it would be like, "Yes, I'm Xanthogoran, and this is Cud." That was my goal. That was what I wanted.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, I'm Xanthogoran Pellegri of the Pellegri family. Like, and then I'm like, "Hello, I am Cud." And that was the goal.
Just Cud.
And it was adorable. DJ did a fantastic job of presenting threats that were like, "Hey, this is a thing that you'll need to do," and it makes sense as to why you need to do them. But also, the worst ending here is that you're somewhat uncomfortable. Like, it's like, "Oh, you don't get to eat today."
Mm-hmm.
Well, woohoo! And it was cute. It was adorable.
It was very cute. It was good.
I
was channeling my inner NJ.
Mm-hmm. I could tell. Always a big fan.
I'm apparently okay. I'm apparently good at 2 characters. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm either the super wholesome, adorable person, or I'm the serious stoic person.
Yeah, well, it's like cute or edge.
Yeah.
Those are your modes.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
I respect both.
Yeah, I mean, because like, I think Cather, he's not quite edge, but he does ride that line sometimes.
He does. He like flirts with edge.
Yeah, he flirts with. Yeah, it's like exactly.
I'm trying to think of a popular media that like is that same vibe of like, if this were like one step further, then you would just be like a 13-year-old playing a rogue. And I can't think of any that come to mind directly. You're like Darkwing Duck.
I don't know.
Where it's like, if this wasn't a duck, like if this was not just Daffy Duck, it would be the most edgy thing you've ever seen. Darkwing Duck is a fantastic series where it's literally they just took Daffy Duck and made him Batman. But he only has the like comedic Daffy Duck stuff. A lot of the time he's just Batman. But you look at him and you go, "Oh, that's Daffy Duck."
It's a duck. Yeah.
And so it's so that's you, except replace Daffy with like Elrond. So you're like, well, this isn't edgy, but he's
definitely, yeah, he's very serious.
Yeah. It's Elrond, a Batman costume.
Yeah,
like, well,
Elrond.
Batman.
Well, I mean, really, it's just Elrond back when he was actually fighting on the front lines.
Yes.
Before he became a diplomat.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And I love when you play wholesome characters because you do it so well. You also undeniably play children better than I do. Like, I do not enjoy playing kids. I do not enjoy DMing children unless they're secretly serial killers or old people. Like, I tend to avoid it
like Jackson.
Yeah, even Jackson. Jackson was like Jackson was the split. He was past the like in between of 11 to 15. So he basically acted like a really edgy like 16-year-old, which
Mm-hmm.
I can play 16 and above,
Yeah.
and I can struggle to play 10 and below.
Right.
I can't do 10 to 15, and I'm not a fan of playing 10 and below. 16 and above I'm chill with, because 16 and above is when they start to like develop personalities, and you hate most of them. I will say I enjoyed playing, and so here's the other hard part, right? I think a lot of the problem of 11 to 15-year-olds in RPG and like playing them is that is when people are among the most illogical.
Right.
And that isn't what you want as a DM or a player.
Right.
Like the episode where you guys had to go find Mary, I DM'd that.
Right.
Mary is around that like 11 to 15 range. She's like what, 11 or 12 at this point in time, maybe 13.
I have no idea.
Probably 13. That's like the most miserable age in that age range. And she's like starting to become a person,
right,
rather than just like some dumb idiot kid.
Right.
And that often means that she just does things that don't make any sense, and she doesn't know why she did them later.
Right.
Which isn't fun. You're like, we did it. We found Mary. And she's like, I hate you. And you're like,
you're just like,
what?
What?
And then she like runs away. And in a room, she's sitting there like, God, why did I say that? I'm such an idiot. I bet they do hate me now because I said that. And then you as players are like, what is
happening?
Happened? And that's another reason why it's so miserable to play characters or NPCs that are that age. Because like you just have like, if you want to play them authentically, then there's just the worst.
Yeah, it's just very random.
And if you don't play them authentically, then they turn either like 0 to 10 or like 15 and above.
Right.
So I just tend to avoid that age. I can play a very bad 0 to 10-year-old, or I can play a pretty alright 16 and above.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely have a skill that I do not possess. And I am not jealous of you for it, because I don't think it would be a lot of fun for me. But yeah, I enjoyed playing Cut a lot.
Yeah,
I would like to play him again.
I thought you did like just like the country hick. I think you did that very well.
So I actually based Cud off of a book that I read a lot as a kid. That I can't remember the name of, but it was based in the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe world.
Oh, okay.
It was like a spin-off story. I want to see if I can find it.
It wasn't Mr. Tumnus, was it?
No. God, I can't remember the name of it. It was really interesting though, but basically the whole story is that like there's these two people who like live in kind of a bog. Okay. And the like kid gets like taken by giants, and the like remaining friends have to go find her and get her back and convince the giants not to eat her.
Okay.
And the art of one of the people, can't think of it, was they had like very long limbs, because they like lived in like very shallow water, so like they had like long legs and arms to like fish with and like walk around in water unimpeded.
Right.
and they had like very broad like straw hats, and it was very like lazy kind of feeling. They had the fish in the water with really long hands and fingers, and
Right.
it's like if this wasn't written to be a children's story, it would be like these people are very scary.
Right. Yeah. Kind of terrifying.
Yeah, because it's like they have really long, gangly limbs and like long, like worm-like fingers and stuff like that. Kind of like a tall golem. Um, like if Gollum was not very small, like if it was like if they were like 6'3", it like that's kind of what it looked
That
like.
would be terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But yeah, I thought you did. I thought Code was great. I thought it was a lot of fun just to kind of like with the basic, just
Oh, I think I found it.
the very simple story of it, just being like, hey, you went fishing and got lost on a small island, and now you have to, survive a night in the wilderness. It's very cute and very, very, very wholesome and simple.
I found it.
You found it?
Yeah. The giant surprise, a Narnia story that is inspired by the stories of C.S. Lewis
There you
by
go.
Hyawen Oram. And let me tell you, man, I did not look this up beforehand. This is just as scary as I remember it to be. Like, the art on these people are like kind of concerning. Like it's kind of spooky. Um, but very accurate to kind of the like vibe of Cud, except he's a little bit more of a pale blue.
Oh, sure.
And his hat isn't like a pointy hat; it's just a normal straw hat. That's
Right.
like very large and floppy. But yeah, so if you want kind of an idea as to how Cud looks in terms of physiologically, the giant surprise, a Narnia story, is pretty on the nose. Um, I have one of my favorite things to do, especially with characters that we're only ever going to really see once, if not occasionally as kind of a side thing, is to just make loads of lore for them that no one will ever know. And so I had a lot of fun doing that and like coming up with reasons to why characters act in specific ways or do things that like theoretically, if this were an actual campaign, may have repercussions, but it really doesn't.
Right.
So like,
Did we establish, is this world actually like, was
no,
this
we never
little
said
one-shot?
what world this was.
Yeah.
No, it was just like, this is you're on a beach. This is where you're at, and so it could be anywhere. This could be canon.
This could be
This could be going on right now. The reason why your parents didn't show up because they were caught in the war.
Maybe.
For all we know.
See what actually happened. Maybe they were secretly a part of the anathema, and so they've since been arrested and or called in.
Yep, could be. It's hard to know.
Who knows?
But yeah, Cud is absolutely descended from oceanic royalty. And his parents were basically lost him. He was swept away by the tides as a wee babe. And they have yet to find him. But theoretically, they're still out there searching. As far as he knows. They might also be dead, but someone is probably searching for him. It could be a rival to the throne that's like, I must dispose of my only possible competition.
Right. Although, even though Cud really isn't any competitions, given the fact that, like,
oh yeah,
like he has no idea even who his parents are.
Idea. But the fact is, people know that that there is a candidate by blood, and so there's like rumors out against this candidate, where it's like, oh, he's not the true ruler of the throne. And so he's like, well, I need to quell these where they stand.
The lost son shall return.
Yeah, basically, just Aquaman.
I was also thinking Aragorn.
Yeah,
but yeah, Aquaman's also
Aragorn, Aquaman. Where it's like, yes, he is the true king,
Arthur,
but he will not be my king. Like blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he is very distantly descended from a kraken. We're not sure how that maths out. For all I know, it might be an Athena situation where the Triton sprung from the head of this thing. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
but that is where he gets his magic. He never got to use. He was a fathomless warlock,
Uh-huh.
and so he could summon like ghost tentacles and stuff like that. Never got to see that. Kind of thank goodness, because that would have been horrifying. Where Kudasaren is like, it just starts going forward full warlock. Like, I was regretting I should have made him a druid. That probably would have been better for the episode. But like,
Eh.
I put about 20 minutes of thought into this and about 4 hours into the backstory. So that's just where we're gonna be. But yeah, so I would like to think that potentially somewhere down the line, we could play these characters again.
Yeah, dude, that'd be great.
Either
I love that.
in a wholesome kind of one shot. It would also be kind of hilarious to like in a different campaign to like stumble across these two people.
Uh-huh.
And like for some reason while we're there, just the most wholesome things are happening, but the rest of the campaign has been like blood,
It's just
murder,
horrible.
death.
Like
Just,
we
terrible things.
like this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna get to campaign 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be our party is just gonna be adventuring, doing our thing, right? Following whatever lead or whatever. And we're just gonna like come across this small peaceful town just in the middle of a bunch of chaos. Who's like that's like just like it's like what wow, like this place is just so quiet, so peaceful, so nice. And then eventually you find out, oh, it's the place that like Ultrez and Cud are like the mayors of like this small little town, and they just have a grand old time.
Dog, imagine it. You guys are fighting a civil war. It's brutal. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Just messed up things are happening. People are dying. You've cradled the bodies of your friends and family time and time again, and then like you're like on the sea and your ship gets wrecked and you're like, well, this is the end. And then you open your eyes to just see like a canoe with like really long legs stretched out the side, and you're like, what's happening? He's like, well, hey there, friendo. Looks like you took a mighty bad fall or something. How's it going? And you're like, the world is at war. And he's like, I ain't seen no war out here. And then some dumb kid's head pops up, and he's like, why there? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I imagine he was Pinocchio, but Cud is very much a like cricket though.
Right. I was also thinking kind of like Bob Ross.
Yeah. Oh my God, he is very Bob Ross. He's like, well, there's no such thing as mistakes, just happy little accidents.
Just happy.
Well, this is my squirrel friend. Like, he probably does multi-class into druid.
Honestly,
Probably.
it does feel appropriate.
At least 6 levels in druid, I'm gonna say. Probably might be 14 warlock.
Oh my goodness, Aaron.
What?
He could someday ascend to Kraken.
Yeah, that's possible.
He just becomes.
It's probably like Circle of Shepherds, and then 14 levels of warlock.
Mm-hmm.
So I just summon a bunch of my animal friends.
Yep.
And what was it, like Walter, my fish?
Sure.
Okay. This is something that I do need to touch on. It was stated in the episode. Cud does not know that there are different types of things.
Right.
He like generalizes everything into a category that consists of person,
Yep.
fish,
Yep.
bird,
Yep.
and then like gerbil. That's probably the fourth. I was thinking really hard about it because I'm like, what about bears? Like, bears are clearly not people, fish, or birds.
Mm-hmm.
So what covers things that are on the land that aren't people? And it's probably like hamster. Because like what else is
it's
like
just a really big hamster,
like
a bear.
a tiger is just a hamster that's big, has claws, and a longer tail.
Yep.
And it's stripes. That's just a hamster. Like bugs are fish.
Yeah.
Bugs are without a doubt fish.
Birds are birds.
There might also be a category of lizard. I think it's so well.
No, I think
Are lizards just land fish?
yeah, no, lizards are just land
Which
fish.
means that dragons are fish.
Dragons are fish.
Dragons are fish for sure.
Yep.
Especially because some of them swim.
Yeah.
So the dragons are fish. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Well, actually, I think it's actually funnier if dragons are both fish and birds.
That is true. That honestly, Cud's never seen a dragon, so it would probably be did Cud see it on land, sky, or sea first, and then
See,
all of the rest of them follow this template.
this is how Cud has an existential crisis. Is he sees a dragon for the first time, flying in the sky, land on the ground, walk around a little bit, and then go into the sea and go swimming,
No,
and then
that's a bird.
disappear.
That's a bird for sure. Because birds will fly and then they'll dive down and grab a fish from the sea. Some of them even can like go deep under the water. So since he saw it in the sky first, that's for sure a bird. But if it's instead it comes out of the water,
If it
and
comes
into the
out of
sky,
the ocean and
that's
then
a
goes,
fish because they're a flying fish. And so
okay,
that's just one that flies a lot better than most fish. And most of those can be on land for at least a little while. So dragons are just really good versions of either fish or birds. Because they definitely aren't hamsters. They can't be hamsters.
no. If he encountered a dragon on the land, and that's primarily where he saw a dragon,
If it burrowed, then probably.
then
If
it
it
would
comes out
probably
of, like, if
become
he
a
just sees it walking through, it's probably a bird because it has wings.
okay,
He
sure,
would be a little confused because it has scales like a fish. But like if it was just walking through, but if it like came out of the ground, then he's like, shoot, that's a hamster. You see, and this is why, because lizards, I think that there might be another category for Cud that is lizard, because he probably has seen a lizard and been like, that is clearly not a fish, but I don't think it's a hamster, and it's definitely not a bird, so it has to be something else. So he asked someone, and they were like, oh, that's like a gecko. And he's like, oh, so there's another class of animal called a gecko. And so snakes are geckos, dragons are geckos.
That's actually funnier.
Yeah, could you imagine him like going up against a dragon? Like some dragon's like, oh, and like bursts through a mountain and like breathes fire. And he's like, a gecko. It's like, what?
See,
what are you talking about?
Now I really want Cud and Ultrez to be in a longer form campaign in an adventuring party.
Oh my god.
And like it's like they're taking a long rest, they're camping out, and Cud is taking watch, and he hears something, and he goes to investigate and sees like a full on dragon,
He's like,
and he rushes back. He rushes back, and guys like, guys, we got an issue. We got a huge issue. There's a gecko, and the rest of the party's like, what? Why is there a problem with the gecko? And then Ultrez is like, no, guys, hold on.
Wait a second. How big is this gecko?
How big is a gecko, Cud? He's like it's massive. It's like
60 feet tall. It has
It's
wings,
like,
dude.
it's like, okay, guys, he means a dragon.
He's like, geckos aren't supposed to fly. That's not how they work. That's almost a bird.
It would totally become like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing
Oh yeah,
with like Cud is just our Groot.
pretty much. They're like, Cud, how about you go get us some food today? He's like, yeah, okay. What do you want? Do you want fish or gerbil? And they're like, and he's like, I suppose I might be able to handle bird too. They're like,
What?
He's like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna catch yet. And they're like, what? There aren't birds here. Like, we're in a cave. And he's like, well, no, there's birds.
Yeah,
They're the little leathery flappy things. They're like, those are bats. And he's like, yeah, birds. That's a bird. What else would you? They're upside down birds.
Oh my goodness. I need this now. This is how Aaron taps into like the wholesome.
Yeah, is I just need to play someone who's super dumb. Yeah, and like I'm trying to think. What are like giraffes or gerbils?
Uh-huh.
Giraffes are just long necked gerbils that are tall.
Yeah.
What's an animal that you think would really stump Cud?
Um,
Platypus, probably. Well, no, platypus is a fish.
yeah, platypus.
That's
Yeah.
definitely a fish. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like a fish, but he would know it's a fish. Because it's not a gerbil.
I think hmm. I mean, I think maybe oh man, I don't even know, dude.
Well, it's done to the dragon, so it's got to be like an aberration.
Right, it's got to be something
It's got to
weird.
be like a roper or something. Where he's like, well, no, a roper, that's a lizard. A roper gives lizard
What would he
vibes.
think if he saw a beholder?
Behold, that's a lizard. It's got to be a lizard. It's not a gerbil. It might be a bird because it floats. That there are very very simple rules for Cud. If it floats, it might be a bird. But I think it's
If
probably
it's
a
in
lizard.
the air, it's maybe a bird. If it's on the ground, it's either a gerbil or a lizard.
See,
And
that's the
if it's
thing.
in the water, it's a fish.
I think that for Cud, since lizards were the last thing that he learned about, anything that he doesn't really know what it is probably a lizard. So like he stumbles across
The
like
lizard is just the miscellaneous.
yeah, like Cthulhu is probably a lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah. God probably a lizard. Cuz it like angels are people. Most of them. The
Yeah.
ones that are just a bunch of eyes on rings, that's a lizard.
That's a lizard.
Biblically accurate angels are lizards.
Lizards. That's what we've
Without a doubt.
established
No
today.
doubt in Cud's mind. He looks at it, he goes, that's a lizard. That's the end.
Yep.
Cud's thought process
What
is,
is what
two
is
steps.
what is Cud's intelligence?
Oh, it's like a 12. It's
Okay.
not bad. See, here's the thing. Cud isn't dumb, but he also he doesn't like talk to anyone. And so most of his information is like fourth hand. And
Uh-huh.
so most likely he said, "Hey, what is this?" And someone went, "Oh, that's a lizard."
Uh-huh.
And added that to his category of things that exist.
Uh-huh.
And he never asked much past that. Like he's never asked anyone like it doesn't make sense to him that there would be different types of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just look different because things sometimes look different.
Uh-huh.
And so his categories have very simple rules. Does it walk around on two legs most of the time? Probably a person. Does it walk around on four legs most of the time? That's probably a gerbil. But it sometimes is a lizard.
Uh-huh.
Does it swim? Probably a fish. Does it fly or float? Probably a bird. That sounds like pretty good categorization.
Yeah, what more could you need?
Like that sounds pretty one to one. That's actually probably more scientific than what we have. Like if it covers every category. Unless there's one that I can't think of. Ghosts? No, ghosts are people. I know that they don't walk around on two legs, but they can't be any of the other things. Actually, Cud's never seen a ghost. So he's probably like, oh, that's just gas. That's not it. That's not a living thing.
It's not anything.
He's like,
It's not
I've seen swamp lights before. And so that's probably what that is. I want to play this character. This character sounds awesome.
someday, Aaron, someday.
Just anything that we find. It like at any point in time it is always funny with Cud.
Right.
Could you imagine like a nature show documentary that just Cud?
With Cud as like the commentary.
Yeah. Today we found another fish. They're like, Cud, what type of fish? He goes, type of fish, it's a fish. What more do you need to know? It's a fish that you probably shouldn't eat, but you might. Probably won't taste very good, might kill you. They're like, but like what's its name? I don't know, Dave? Like, why don't you ask it? Like the perfect character. Um, but yeah, so that has been a venture into the life of Cud.
Yes.
Um, Canonically, where are Ultrez's parents? Are they just rich snobs that don't care about their kid?
So in my head, when I brought up the idea that Ultras doesn't see his parents a lot, it's not because they it's not because they're rich snobs who don't care about their kid, but in my mind, like if you think about like the life of a performer, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they're constantly
Yeah,
like
taking them
doing
all over the
something,
place.
because they're either traveling or they're like traveling somewhere or they're at some big event or big show. Like they're constantly doing something, so they're just not able to be at home a lot. And so then that just means that Ultras doesn't see them a whole lot.
Wow,
Yeah,
what just the worst parents.
yeah. But but yeah, I mean, which
That
which
conversation about your parents felt the most like a kid's show. It felt like we were like in like some like I don't know, some like early 2000s kid show that like actually teaches kids,
the
like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. That's what it felt like. Where it was like, you really think that maybe I could meet your family sometime, and like it gets like it zooms in on the person as he's talking to the kid. And he's like, hey, I mean that's a real good thought, but they're really far away right now, so you're probably not going to be able to. And it's like it's the episode about death and
uh-huh,
like dealing with death.
uh-huh.
Um, it felt so much like a kid's show, which was great because exactly what the episode was
That
supposed
yeah,
to like
100%.
be.
That's what it was.
But I just thought it was so funny because
Yeah.
it was like, cute, adorable, we're doing cute things, and then every once in a while it would just get like
It just
kind of
gets
sad,
really serious like all of a sudden.
and it's just like, do you think my parents still love me? And Cud's like, oh god, like what am I supposed to do here?
I
Ugh.
canonically, I'm going to say it. Cud's parents and Ultras' parents totally know each other.
But like they don't know that the other one that they know
Uh-huh.
Cud.
Yep, 100%. Well, because here's the thing. Because here's why. So Ultras' parents know Cud's parents because Cud's parents are considered royalty.
Yeah,
And so they have met because they
they were
they run in
some
those circles.
yeah some
How
random like banquet that your parents were performing at, and my parents were like,
100%.
hey, how's it going? You guys were incredible.
Uh-huh. 100%. And but the reason why they never thought that Cud would be related to like involved is because any time that they've mentioned, they're like, "Oh yeah, our son, we don't know what happened to him. He got lost long ago, but we're still looking for him." Like in my parents' heads, they don't view Cud as a child.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a fully grown
Here's the thing.
adult.
I like to think headcanon wise, no one actually thinks Cud is real. Like
He's
there are a
he's just
couple of sailors that like kind of know that there's a Triton like nearby,
uh-huh.
but most of them are like old like superstitious sailors,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, oh no, there's the water boy who lives down and everyone's like, yeah, okay. But like
Sure.
anyone who is like under the age of 70 has never seen Cud, and like so like Ultrez is like, yeah, my friend Cud, he like lives down in the lagoon, and everyone's like, he's been talking to too many old people.
It's like, "Oh, that's nice that you have an imaginary friend."
Yeah, like, oh, that's adorable. And like and your butler probably like was like, he's not gonna be able to move the canoe, so like, yeah, you can have the canoe. And then like he goes out and he's like, oh my god, how did he move the canoe?
He's what happened?
Like, I thought he was just gonna sit in it and pretend to fish. I didn't think he was actually gonna go anywhere.
That would Oh my goodness. I That is actually hilarious. The idea that like yeah, that his butler actually had no
No,
intention
zero.
of having Ultras fish or learn how to fish. It was purely the notion of, oh, Ultras mentioned wanting to fish. but I don't have time to teach him, so I'll just let him pretend that he's gonna
Yeah,
fish.
Ultrez wanted the canoe, so yeah, I'll set it on the beach for him. Like, I remember when I was a kid and I would like sit in a cardboard box and pretend it was a wagon.
Yep.
Like, that's he's just rich, so he gets an actual canoe instead of a cardboard box.
Right.
And then he like late at night after he's done flirting with the maid, he like leans out the window and he goes, "Where's the canoe?" Like, what?
What happened to the canoe?
But yeah, and so that's why I had Cud leave at the end of the episode, because I wanted to keep up my headcanon that no one knows that Cud is real. He's like, he does sometimes like Little Mermaid people, where like someone like gets launched over the side of a boat and they're like drowning. He's like, oh shoot, someone's drowning, so he'll go like save them, and then no one believes that they were saved by like a fish person. And so they're like, no, it was real. There was this like kid in like a ratty shirt and like khakis that were pulled up to his knees, and they're like, yeah, okay.
It's like there's like, well, probably just hallucinating since they were drowning.
And then like the old fishermen are like, yes, it's the boy of the lagoon. it's the lagoon child, the child of lagoon.
Yeah, which makes them believe in the boy less, because like, oh, okay, the old it's
the old people. But like there's probably a small cult. Like there's probably like a collection of people in this village who like get together and worship the boy of the lagoon, because they're like, it's the patron saint of the village. Like, Cud has no idea that it's real.
100%. I like literally in my head, I'm just now picturing like this cult finally like finds Cud and like confronts him and be like, "Sir, man of the lagoon, we've finally found you. We've sought you out and have been seeking your guidance." Meanwhile, Cud is just like staring at them like with like a fish tail like sticking out of his mouth as he's like halfway through like eating some sort of like fish stew, and he's just like, what?
You see, here's the thing.
What?
I think that they would see Cud and they would go, "That's not him." The one that we know about is way more majestic. So they're probably people who like, they have like three different. They're the people that don't believe in Cud, the people that have seen Cud and don't think that it's the one that they know, and the people that haven't seen Cud and don't think that he's the one that they are thinking of. So it's like, even if they have seen Cud, they're like, that's not the one. That's some weird homeless guy that lives down in the lagoon. That's not the boy of the lagoon. That's two completely different people. One of them is way more interesting. Like, honestly, we should probably get rid of the homeless guy down at the lagoon. Like, he's not doing anyone any harm, so we're not going to do anything. But like, I don't know, it's kind of weird that he just lives there. He's probably interfering with the boy of the lagoon. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, thank you for listening to my Cud lore.
Yes.
It's been an hour and 15 minutes, and I have somewhere to be today, because Wizards of the Coast, it's the release day of Commander Masters, a very overpriced set that I'm still going to participate in because I'm an idiot. And so I have that to get to tonight. It's a little earlier than I normally go, and it's a Friday, which I don't normally stream on. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I keep forgetting that's Friday.
Yep. I am going to call it a night, and by that I mean an afternoon.
Yeah.
Because it's like 3:15.
Yeah.
3:20. Thank you, everyone. If anyone did stop out here today, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up.
Check us out on Monday. We should be back with the main campaign this next Monday.
Yeah, we have to fight some dragons.
Yeah, we have to try not to die.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a more accurate way of putting it.
Yep. Try not to die, kill the people before we get killed.
Yep, that's right.
So check that out. Plan. Check out the start of this episode to see all of our plugs, because I don't want to recount them. As for the rest of it, the only thing that I have left to say is good luck and Godspeed, everyone. We will see you next time, Dungeoneers. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.